Welcome back to another episode of Liverpool Latest, everybody. My name is Mathew Mysholowsky, and we have a lot to speak about on this edition today, including the aftermath of the horrific Brentford loss, the game plan that Slot allegedly said that they practiced in training in regards to Brentford's long throws from the sidelines. Virgil van Dijk had some words of optimism, which we'll decide together how optimistic we really should handle this. And the social media interwebs are running wild with the hashtag #SlotOut. That's a lot to cover, but we're going to get through this together as a family. So, let's talk about the aftermath of the game first. The positives and the negatives, so to speak. There's not really a whole lot of positives I can go off of. I mean, the Kirkes goal, despite him having a horrific defensive performance, was really refreshing to see before halftime. Whether or not the goal should have been allowed because of the time that was allotted for stoppage time, Brentford fans are going to piss and moan about it, but at the end of the day, it was a good goal. And it's happened to us in the past, We had a loss or a draw, 1-2 to Everton last season that we were angry about because of the time that was allotted to allow that goal to be scored. So I guess what goes around comes around, except it's not against Everton, it's against Brentford. Mo Salah scored too, which was great. I mean, he had some good chances too when we were trying to get that equalizer goal at the very end of the match, but I think he had one that just went super wide, and I was upset to see that happen. But the fact that he even scored a goal at all or had some sort of stat was positive for me as a Mo Salah fan. But at the same time, how often is this going to happen? I mean, I saw a quote in my research doing the video either yesterday or today that he says that he's not worried about a drought, a scoring drought for him. Which, frankly, I don't know how you can't be worried. I'm worried, honestly. I mean, he's one of the greatest players, not just in club history, but honestly in the Premier League. And the fact that he's on the drought that he's had, not just from scoring, but even any goal involvements at all, is astonishingly bad. So I take the fact that he scored as a positive. As far as general statistics go, we had good shots on goal. Not all of them were on target. Brentford beat us 8-5. Possession, which is something I harp on a little bit, actually a lot, because possession means nothing in a game. We had 66.3% possession the entire match to Brentford's 33.7, and that meant absolutely nothing because one, we couldn't score, and two, they were just better on the counterattack. I mean, we had 490 successful passes, but what's the point of having successful passes if they don't go to where we need them to go? And our long passes with Brentford were just about even, 64-61. It's terrible, and defensively is even probably worse. The defensive stats are much worse than the general stats, according to the Sky Sports website. I mean, we had the most tackles, yes. We had the most clearances, yes. But we also conceded more fouls. And that was the hard one. We also didn't have any interceptions. Well, 14 compared to our 4 Brentford had. So defensively, we're a mess. And I talked about this yesterday with Konate and how he just gives up on the run, which is shocking, to say the least. That's not something that should have happened. I think that goal could have been defended a lot better, that second goal. And the fact that, Konate has been very off all season. I'm not sure if it's because of these talks with, allegedly, there's talks with him and Real Madrid, and the last thing I want is to deal with another Trent Alexander-Arnold issue like we did last season. But honestly, at this point, if there's any weight to those rumors at all, just don't even play him. Because if he clearly doesn't want to put in the effort to help us win games, I don't want to see him on the pitch. It's as simple as that. He's a great defender when he wants to be, and he's even scored a goal for us against Frankfurt. But this is Frankfurt. Oh, that was Frankfurt. This is Brentford. And clearly the performance was not up to par for a opponent at the level like Brentford. The next thing I would like to discuss is something that really made me angry when I saw this quote from Slot himself. He said that their entire training session on Friday was focused on preparing for Brentford's long throw-ins, but their hard work was quickly undone when Brentford opened the scoring from Coyote's long throw-in just 5 minutes in, and which Otara scored off a ricochet of one of the players, and which was, again, I cannot knock that goal. It was a phenomenal-looking goal. Very Pele kick-esque, I can tell you that much. I don't understand how you can prepare for something as well or as much as Slot says they did and still have it be a horrendous obstacle throughout the entire match. The first half was dominated by the long throw by Brentford, okay? It didn't even matter off that first goal. They just kept doing it. I think over time they gave that up for some reason. I don't know why. I think it was working for them, but perhaps that game plan was becoming a little bit too predictable, and I guess knowing that they allegedly trained for that to happen, I guess the coach told Coyote, hey, let's not do that much more. At least that's what I thought I heard one of the commentators say. But either way, I'm angry. I think the fact that they spent all that time, as much as they say they did, preparing for that particular aspect of Brentford's game, only for it to completely bite them in the ass, is hilarious to an extent, but also incredibly frustrating as a fan after the fact, because what exactly were they practicing? And I know set pieces aren't our greatest aspect of our overall team and our structure, whether it's defense or offense, but I don't know. It's something that needs to get worked on for sure, because there's been a lot of players and a lot of teams this season that have scored off of set pieces against us. And at some point, you can't also blame the manager. You got to blame the players too. And I still blame Kirkes for that first goal even taking place in the first at all. The fact that he was completely out of position for when Otaro went to go kick that, it makes me angry. So defensively, we're a mess. And if we had just been better defensively, maybe that throw wouldn't have happened. But that's a different story for a different time. Of course, let's also quickly talk about the fact that we weren't allowed a penalty, allegedly, which they, of course, were given one from VAR. And, you can't have everything. You just can't have everything. Does Cody Gakpo get that penalty? Don't know. Frankly, I can't really say. I think it could be either or. I do think after some replay, the VAR was right to give the penalty to Virgil van Dijk, or to Brentford, from that Virgil van Dijk foul. So it's a hard give and take, and I think us Liverpool fans need to stop blaming refs. We can train for any of these things all the time, but whether it be the throw-in or preparing for rough calls, but at the end of the day, it comes down to player discipline, and it seems like we don't really have much of that. According to Virgil van Dijk, though, he's very optimistic. Here's a quote from him to TNT Sports. "The fact we didn't keep a clean sheet for 9 games, it's easy to blame a particular person. Yes, you're part of that reason. Let's be honest here. You're honestly part of the reason why we can't do that. You and Konate both. Honestly, the entire back four. The back line or set pieces. You could blame set pieces too. But it's a collective thing in the end. Everyone has to look in the mirror, including myself. I am sure we will get out of this, but we won't do it just by talking about it. We will try to improve. We need each other. We need the support. We need the people who were celebrating with us last year to be with us now even more. We need to get out of this because we have the quality offensively and defensively. Well, shit, you could have fooled me, Verge. Could have fooled me, Cap. Obviously, this is a lot of, captain speak and, trying to tell the media that it's not nearly as bad as it is, but we see the product that's on the pitch. And I agree with him on a lot of these things. Don't get me wrong. I agree. Like, if you were with us last year during the title race, you got to be with us this year. I still am. 100%. I think a lot of us need to. And I'll get to that in our final section here. But at what point, you can say as a collective effort, we're rough. But at the end of the day, defense is really what's costing us. We didn't spend nearly as much on defense as we did on offense during the transfer window. And it's costing us now. We missed out on a key player at the very end, and it just didn't, it hurt us. Now we have to kind of struggle because some of our guys are out on defense, and we're playing players that aren't necessarily up to par. Kirkez, not up to par. Bradley, don't know what he's been doing, why he's been doing so poorly, but I know he's a better player than this. I've seen him play. He's much better than what is being led on, and I don't know where that downfall is coming from for him, but I hope he eventually finds it. Robertson isn't the answer either. He was poor last year. I think the fact that people are clamoring for another poor player to take a spot is just as laughable to me. Van Dijk has been rough at times. Konate has been an absolute shitter on the pitch. There's no other way to say it. And I talked about it before. The Real Madrid stuff isn't helping. The rumors of that aren't helping. But he's right. At some point they gotta improve. And I don't know what they have to do that. I mean, they've allegedly had team meetings. They've allegedly, I'm sure they've all talked it out in the back in some way, shape, or form. I'm sure they're all frustrated with each other. Offensive players are frustrated with midfield frustrated with defense, and so on and so forth. But they got to come together as a team. Something is not working. The talent, we have talent. I hope we all understand the amount of talent we actually have on this team. Yet for some reason, it's not clicking the way we hoped it would. And maybe that was just the arrogance we had coming from the championship last season. But it's something I think that we got to fix sooner rather than later. So to some degree, I agree with Virgil. But in other cases, I think this is just a lot of media speak to make it sound like it's not nearly as bad as it should be, or as it is currently. I mean, the stats speak for themselves. And we're going to find out very soon whether or not Slot is going to even have a job by the end of this season, because the hashtag Slot Out has been trending on social media since the loss. And I did say something last video along the lines of, I don't know if he's going to keep a job by the end of this week. Because if we lose to Palace in the Carabao Cup, there's got to be something said for that. There's got to be someone taking the fall for that. Unfortunately, it would have to be Slot. And I don't think Slot is a bad manager. I think he makes really bonehead mistakes, but so did Jurgen Klopp. Jurgen Klopp made bonehead mistakes too during his tenure. And I think people forget about that, especially in the last few years. People want to glorify Klopp, and I love Jurgen Klopp as much as the next Liverpool fan. But he made a lot of mistakes too. Honestly, a lot of those mistakes cost us the title race just a couple of seasons ago. And I don't know why it's all of a sudden forgotten about. And a lot of people wanted him out for that too. So I feel like this is just a bunch of mumbo jumbo that people are just going to talk about it online. And there's a gentleman I saw on Twitter by the name of Eddie Gibbs. He talks about this, and I'm going to read this quote here. He says it's an easy thing to say, but it's a lazy answer, I guess, to the overall problem. His replies last night were full of people telling me to sack the manager after watching Liverpool fold again. I understand the fury, as we all do. This is me saying that. This side collapsed under a basic game plan, bullied by long throws, second balls, and a team that simply wanted it more. This is a disgrace for a club with their resources. Slot is not helping himself. He has talked about long balls and deep blocks as if they are some sort of new and unfair invention. Everyone in the league can see Liverpool are soft in the air, weak on second phases, and mentally brittle when asked to defend. God, this is brutal, bro. This hurts me reading it. If you spend all week preparing for set pieces and still fall apart the moment a throw-in comes in, you have not coached it well enough. Well, amen. That's what I just said. The in-game decisions are harder to swallow. Confused formations, square pegs everywhere, and a habit of making changes that weaken the team rather than lift it. Playing one midfielder with real drive away from the center of the pitch, that's not adapting, that is panicking. Accountability has to land at the manager's feet. This is a squad that cost a fortune, yet looks less organized than sides built on scraps. Effort is patchy, confidence is shot, and the identity has vanished. Questioning Slot is not only fair, but necessary. It's sacking him now, but sacking him now solves nothing. He created this mess, so he should be the one forced to fix it. Give him the time to show whether he has the courage and clarity to put this right, or whether the job is too big for him. Only then will we know if he deserves to stay and finish what he started. I don't think I could have said it any better. And honestly, a lot of what Mr. Gibbs said here is exactly what I feel. I think it's premature to say, hey, let's fire him, be done with it. But where does that leave us the rest of the season? I think people forget about that. I've dealt with plenty of managers getting fired or coaches getting fired midway through the season or after the season. I just dealt with it with the Rangers and Peter Laviolette, which I don't even think it was all his fault. I don't think it was even his fault most of the time, or a good portion of the time. But he still got fired because someone has to take the fall. I didn't agree with it when of course, there were times where I've seen the Knicks have really bad coaches. But, when we had Thibs, or Tom Thibodeau, he was a great coach, but he was also very stubborn and wasn't able to adapt as well either. So he created something great with us, but his inability to adapt led to his eventual firing, leading to where we are now with our current coach, which we're doing very well so far, but there's still time for that to collapse as well, God forbid. So this is not new to me. This is not new to me in sports, as it's not new to literally anybody who's ever been a sports fan, that the issues are with the manager. I mean, Jesus, I wanted Aaron Boone on the Yankees fired forever ago, and they still haven't announced that. So I'm probably stuck for another year with that one. But let him fix the problem. Give him these next stretch of games, because he at least deserves that much. If after the Real Madrid game, we're still in the shape that we're in currently, I think that's when you have to pull the plug. I think that's when the experiment ends. And whether or not Jurgen Klopp comes back, highly doubt it. But maybe it's time to give our old favorite German a call. But thank you, Mr. Gibbs, for providing this great tweet for me to read, because it basically encapsulates both sides of the argument, and it encapsulates my feelings pretty well. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for checking out Liverpool Latest today. I look forward to bringing you some more content tomorrow on the platform, so please subscribe and let me know what you think down in the comments section below about everything I spoke about. I would love to engage in some sort of discourse with you all about it, because we're all disgruntled, we're all angry, but we all have to come together. We all have to be together. We're all one big dysfunctional family after all. And just like any family, you'll never walk alone.